Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Hope you all are doing well. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what is going on with Bitcoin. So, taking a look at our daily candles so far, we had a nice dump last night. I did call 65.3-ish area. I did say it was high risk, but if you did take that trade, it would have paid out extremely well for you. We did bottom out. Let's see, it was around 63.710. So that gave you quite a decent move to the downside. That would be about almost a couple $1,000s worth, to the downside if you were to take that trade. So definitely, we got that move down like I was expecting. I believe we are bouncing off of the 4-hour 200 MA. So almost the 4-hour 200 MA. Is it the 3-hour? Almost the 3-hour as well. So we just lost the 2-hour. We're getting towards the 3-hour and the 4-hour right now. So the 3-hour is at 63,391, and then your 4-hour is at 62,914. So we did almost get there, but we didn't quite make it to that point. So that being said, let me take a look and see if this is a fib here. If I take a look and pull. Not quite. You got to the 0.75 once again. So that's basically been kind of our area where we've been bouncing from lately, is the 0.75, not quite the 786, which is fine. I mean, we did bounce right off of a support level around 63,940. So there is that, we did have that happen. Now taking a look at the 8-hour, we did lose that 21 and the 50 as well. So we have to assume that there is more downside potential unless we get a huge strong wick back up, a strong move back up. I mean, we'd have to basically close the next candle, back above 65,186 to have any sort of hope that we're going to get that golden cross on the 8-hour. Otherwise, this does look like a rollover to me. As far as my targets for last night, I'm not 100% convinced that we're going to get a strong bounce here, especially given the time of the week that it is. So we are dealing with a Friday, obviously. You have Saturday and Sunday volatility, so I don't expect for us to get any sort of strong move back up. If anything, what I'm expecting is more of a rollover type of situation. So I still am targeting getting down into the 61,124, 60,800 area down below. That is my kind of target for right now. I don't believe that we're going to see any sort of strong relief, at least for the time being, until we get into next week's price action. We could even get a potential strong relief come, I think there's a Fed FOMC meeting on Wednesday, so there might not be any sort of decent move to the upside until then. Just kind of keep that in mind. So because we lost a 2-hour 200 MA, guys, I mean, I am, still staying bearish. We could get a possible relief rally a little bit back up, even to test weekly open again, but it just doesn't look likely at this point. Now, because we lost the 2-hour 200 MA, you have to assume that we're going to touch the 3-hour 200 MA, which basically would be a bounce off of, I believe I measured this as another 786, so 63,322 would kind of be your area that we could get a decent bounce off of, or some sort of bounce. And if not, then, if we lose that 3-hour, test the 4-hour, that's going to be kind of your line in the sand. If we lose the 4-hour on the meso timeframes, that's when, you got to flip more bearish and assume that we're going to start taking out a lot more of this, like even this double bottom right here. You have another double bottom right here. So I would assume that first target would be 61,124, and then furthermore, taking it down to that 60,000-ish area. All right. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for the larger and the meso time frames. Taking a look at the 30-minute, not too much different there. You are hugging that 9 MA. Let's take a look at the 15 real quick here, if I can get to it. All right, taking a look at the 15. So I mean, you could, like I said, you could come up, make some sort of a bear flag, touch that 21, get it close to price action, even test a weekly. But I ultimately still see more of a move to the downside rather than, a strong relief bounce back up. Okay. Let's take a look at the 5-minute. So 5-minute kind of building out a cup and handle, could be a very small move to the upside. I do think we're going to test 63,940-ish area again, this support line, before we do get a move back up, if we do get a small move. So just kind of keep that in mind if you did want to play along right there. That is a possibility. Again, high risk because this is a Friday. And then if you pull your fib tool, I believe it does align. So if you take it from this impulse right here all the way to the top, I mean, your 786 is basically aligned with that support level at 63,940. So that's kind of what I would be targeting for the short term, especially as we get a drop for this new candle for the 4-hour and the 8-hour. So 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time brings us a new candle for the 4-hour and the 8-hour, possibly making the tail of the candle. So definitely there's a possibility we could get a bounce as long as this dumps for right now to 63,940. We get a strong bounce from there. Could see us, get some sort of relief. Like I said, we could even retest the weekly open at 64.7. But again, I'm not expecting us to get above there or even test Monday midnight open at 64.912. So just kind of keep that in mind for right now. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at liquidity, see where that's at here. So taking a look at liquidity, you can see where we're at right now for the 4-hour. So unfortunately, guys, I mean, we are starting to get into this liquidity pool at the 25x. And usually, as if it's not a red liquidity pool or even a yellow liquidity pool, normally these will act like bridges to get furthermore to the downside or to the upside if it's the opposite. So I am expecting more of a move to the downside, at least testing 61,124 area, which would be this green area. And if not, getting into the 60,000 range where we're going to be bouncing potentially off of the yellow area that we have down here on liquidity. Okay, so that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at our 1-hour. So taking a look at the 1-hour, you can see how we basically had that nice stab up. I did take that, basically that 786 level, to the downside here. You can see that's that perfect, almost perfect, basically that draw on liquidity that took out this double top, and then you just had it raid this bottom here. So definitely was a really good setup. As long as you had a deep stop loss, you could have really won that trade. So congrats to anybody who shorted this market. It was a very risky move, but definitely, the risk can really pay out sometimes. And based off of timing, it was more of a probable move just because how late on we are in the week and we already made our high. So I am not fully convinced yet that we're at our low. Today would probably be the day that we made our low for the week. That being said, I do see us potentially making further a low. If we are at the bottom and we made our low around 63.7, I am expecting for us to make a lower low come Sunday, weekly candle close, weekly candle open, or Monday for that matter. I don't think that this is the end of the bottom. So just kind of keep that in mind. For right now, if we are at the low, I do expect just some choppy price action, nothing major. I don't think that we're going to, like I said, get any sort of significant move back up, especially losing these different hourly 200 EMAs, okay? Let's take a final look at the 15-minute. So 15-minute, we did bounce off of a yellow area when it comes to the 150x liquidity. 100x tells us we bounce off of a red area. 50x shows that we bounce off of a yellow area. Our red area is down into that 60,000 area that I've been talking about. So this is definitely still my target down here. Does look like we have a bridge to lead down here. So I am targeting 61,000-ish area, 60,800 area as our potential low for next week, okay? And that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at our order book. So taking a look at the order book here, let me let it refresh real quick. And this is my last recording on my iPad. I will be home later on this evening, so I will be able to record a better video for you guys. I do apologize for this connection, but let's take a look and see. So again, guys, more orders to the downside. Unfortunately, you have some to 63.5, 63.450, and further into the 62 range potentially. Not really any sort of big orders to the upside, like I suggested. So you do have one to 64.9, about a 20.8 million order Bitcoin, which is a decent amount, but not near as much to the downside where you have in the 30s. So just kind of keep that in mind. We could come and touch 64.7, 64.9. That's kind of where I would be targeting for right now, especially 64.7 being weekly open. I would be targeting 64.7 as our potential high for the day, or for right now within this range, and then probably getting a rejection off of that and coming back down and kind of taking out some more of this liquidity to the downside. So that's kind of what I'm seeing as far as, bias goes. So definitely on your meso time frames, your smaller time frames, you can possibly see a small move up, but I don't think it's going to last. I think we're going to get basically a rollover back down to the downside. Okay. That being said, let's take a look at the simple map real quick and see where that's at. So the simple map is showing us on these smaller time frames that we do have we are closer to these smaller, basically the long liquidity, right? On the smaller time frames, we're closer to that bigger pool of liquidity onto the downside. We do have a 100x bridge to lead us there if we were to get there. We have some 50x liquidity as well. We have some 25x, so a lot of liquidity to the downside right below us. And we do have a very small bridge to get us there if need be. And then to the upside, we do have some liquidity, just not a lot. Again, under 1 million of cumulative shorts to the upside, at least to 60. Let's see, where do we start getting into the millions? You have to get at least to about 64.7 to start getting into the millions. So definitely not a lot of liquidity to the upside, as much as to the downside. So unfortunately, it does show that there's a better chance that we move to the downside than the upside for right now. And then taking a look at your bigger time frames like your 4-hour and your daily, kind of portraying the same situation here. We were able to take out some of the longs to the upside up here, but unfortunately we slid back down, couldn't really gain traction there. And now we're looking at, taking out part of this bridge and leading us into the downside liquidity where we're taking out the longs. And again, guys, down to 60,000, I mean, you have, in the multi-millions of dollars of longs to take out. So definitely a possibility we could get a bounce off of this 60,960 area, which is around 61K I've been targeting. But I do see us potentially starting to take out some of this liquidity. If it's not today, I do expect it to be, early on next week for that beginning weekly candle if we are going to be bullish. So keep that in mind, guys. I would like to see next week for us to take out some of this lower liquidity come Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then get that midweek reversal or, early week reversal come Tuesday, back to the upside. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for right now. That's what the market is portraying to me. So anyways, guys, that is what I have for you this morning. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Again, very low volume Friday, so be very careful with your trades. But with that being said, I hope you all have a great day and take care.